Hello, grade 3. How are you today? In this lesson, we're gonna talk about flying doctors. Who are flying doctors? Do you know anything about the flying doctors? Are they doctors who are flying, who have wings to fly with? Mister, what are you saying? Are they like the birds? So, now let's learn about the flying doctors. What I want you to do to open your book, please, page number 64. We have a reading text. Just I want you to read this part, okay? Just this part in page number 64, okay? You just have about 2 minutes. Start. Hello again. Let's read this part together. Listen to me. When you are sick, you can go to hospital in a car. In an emergency, you can go in an ambulance. The people who drive ambulances are called paramedics. They can give you first aid very quickly. Some countries also use helicopters to get people to hospital in an emergency. These are very important and can save lives. So let's learn new words in this text. What's this? Yeah, this is an ambulance. Ambulance. Listen to me carefully to how I pronounce this word. Ambulance. Who are they? They are paramedics. A paramedic is a person who helps to do a medical work or to give emergency medical treatment. He drives an ambulance too. So what's this? Yes, it's a helicopter. It's a helicopter. Flying doctors use a helicopter. So they use a helicopter. Why do they use a helicopter? To get people to hospital in an emergency. What's the meaning of the emergency? It's a difficult or a dangerous situation, especially an accident that happens suddenly and that requires quick action to deal with it. So when you are sick, you can go to a hospital in a car, but in an emergency, you can go in an ambulance. You can go in an ambulance. The people who drive ambulances are called paramedics. Paramedics. And they can give you first aid very quickly. Why? Because it's an emergency. Some countries also use helicopters to get people to hospital in an emergency. These are very important and can save lives. Let's move to the next part.
It's a big old country we live in, stretching from Cape York to Wilson's Prom, Cape Byron to Steep Point, and all the thousands of kilometres in between. And that's what these guys look down on as they take to the skies to take care of people in Australia's most remote locations. They're part of the Royal Flying Doctor Service. It helps hundreds of thousands of Australians every year by sending planes as sort of air ambulances to collect people in medical emergencies, and by setting up clinics in remote areas so locals can see doctors on a regular basis. The story of the Royal Flying Doctors Service started in 1912. Back then, when people in the outback got sick, they'd have to travel sometimes hundreds of kilometres by horse, cart, or even camel to reach a doctor. And they often died before they got there. That's when a reverend called John Flynn decided something had to be done. He started an experiment using planes as a fast way of transporting doctors to people and the other way around. But of course, to get help, people had to contact the flying doctors first. So Flynn teamed up with an inventor named Alfred Traeger, who came up with a pedal-powered radio, which allowed people in outback stations to send messages, at first in Morse code, and later like this.
Emergency medical call from HTR to HSK. Are you receiving us?
The first flying doctor took to the sky over Queensland in 1928 in a single-engine plane borrowed from Qantas. Many of the early planes had open cockpits, which meant pilots were exposed to the weather. Their only navigational device was a compass, and they used whatever they could find to mark the runways. 90 years on, things are a lot more high-tech, but the Flying Doctor's mission has stayed the same. The RFDS now has 69 planes and helps someone on average every 2 minutes. Last year, its pilots flew the equivalent distance of going to the moon and back 34 times. The organisation has bases right across the country, and it's even added flying dentists to its service.
Their air ambulances are a common sight on the Gibbon.
So there's no doubt the Royal Flying Doctors Service has played a big part in Australia's history. And to all the people who live out here in the bush, it's an essential part of its future.
Do you like this video? What was it talking about? Yeah, it was talking about the Royal Flying Doctor Service. Okay, now I want you to read this part and the next part too. Okay, just have about 4 minutes. Start. Hello again. Let's read it together. Australia is an enormous country. 7.69 million square kilometers. It has a population of about 25 million people. Most of the people live near the coast around the country. About 1/3 live in the countryside, in areas that are a long way from towns and hospitals, sometimes about a 6-hour drive. What happens when you are sick? You can call the Flying Doctors. The Royal Flying Doctor Service brings medical help to people all over Australia. The Flying Doctors are pilots as well as doctors. They can help with emergencies or injuries where they happen, and they can fly people to hospital. It's much quicker than traveling by road. The Australian Flying Doctor Service has 77 airplanes. There is a lot of medical equipment inside, and they can be used as hospitals. Doctors can even do operations inside the planes. So look at this flag. Yeah, this is the flag of Australia. Australia is an enormous country. Enormous, like very big. Very big. And it has a population of about 25 million people. The population of a country or an area is all the people who live in it. So about one third live in the countryside. The countryside is a land which is away from towns or cities. So the population in the countryside need, yeah, they need airplanes or helicopters. So they need airplanes. Okay, so here we have an airplane. Why do they need airplanes? Because they are a long way from towns and hospitals. If you want to go to a hospital, it takes about a 6-hour drive. So, mister, what should I do when I am sick? You can call the flying doctors. In this time, the flying doctors are very, very important to save a lot of lives. In Australia, there is a service which is called the Royal Flying Doctor Service. What does it do? It brings medical help to people all over Australia. The flying doctors are pilots as well as doctors. They can help with emergencies or injuries. And the airplane has medical equipment. It has medical equipment inside. Oh my god, yeah, like this picture. Just have a look. Yeah, it has medical equipment inside it. So when you look inside the airplane, you can imagine that is a hospital. Oh, mister, is it a hospital? No, it's not a hospital. It's an airplane. Doctors can even do operations inside the planes. Oh, really? When the life of a person is in danger, so they can do operations. Great. Now let's use the new vocab in sentences. Just have a look. Here we have 6 words. Okay? Or we can say 6 new words. Let's use these words in sentences. So I want you to try to think how to use these words in sentences. I'm gonna give you about 3 minutes to use these words in sentences. Okay? Start. Hello again. Let's use these new words in sentences. The first one, here we have the countryside. My uncle lives in the countryside. Great. Number 2, ambulance. The ambulance came very fast to the place of the accident. Paramedic. Paramedics try to help the injured man after the accident. Helicopter. The helicopter flew high into the sky. Population. The population in Egypt continues to increase. Emergency. The man was in an emergency when he had an accident. Now I want you to open your book, page number 65. Here we have an exercise. I want you to read again. Read this text again and complete by using these 4 words. Why are these things important today? You just have about 2 minutes. Start. Hello again. Let's check your answers together. Number 1, in an emergency. Great. You can go to hospital in an ambulance. Number 2, the people who drive ambulances are called super paramedics, and they can give you first aid. Number 3, lots of countries use to get people to hospital quickly. Yeah, so they use helicopters. Well done. Number 4. In Australia, they use to help with emergencies. Yes, they use airplanes. You are superheroes. Now let's move to the next exercise. Here I want you to read again and answer these questions. Here we have 3 questions. I want you to read again, then answer. You just have about 3 minutes. Start. Hello again. Number 1. Why do people need this service in Australia? Do you remember the name of the service there? Yeah, the Royal Flying Doctor Service. Why do they need it? Great, because they are a long way from towns and hospitals. Number 2, what 2 jobs can the people in this service do? Yes, they can help with emergencies. They can fly people to the hospital too. Amazing. Number 3, what happens if you need surgery quickly? What happens? You can have an operation inside the planes. So the flying doctors are going to help you. Number 4, here I want you to think. Now it's your turn. Do we need flying doctors in Egypt? Do we need flying doctors here in our country? And why? This is the end of our lesson today. I hope you've learned a lot of information. See you inshallah in the next time. Bye.